craft cleanse, aka just decluttering and getting rid of a bunch of shit I've been hoarding in my craft armoire for the past couple of years. As a crafty girl, I think it is so easy to hoard a bunch of supplies. Normally, these materials are pretty inexpensive and they're small, so that's a recipe for disaster for someone who is also an extremely sentimental person and find meaning in absolutely everything, which translates to keeping things for years. So the goal today is to curate and condense my materials so that I'm only keeping things that really creatively inspire me. This morning, I walked to my local coffee shop. We are headed to the coffee shop. And I really just wanted to get some fresh air and to get a good plan on paper on how I wanted to go about this clean out. I did set goals, so at the end of this, I really want things to look functional and minimal. And then I have a plan for how I'm gonna go about the clean out. I also did a very rough sketch of how I want things to be organized in my craft armoire. And I really just wanted to get my head right before I dove right in and really wanted to be intentional about the things that I'm looking to keep and how I'm going to responsibly dispose of the materials that I am not planning on keeping. I moved a bunch of things around, made some space for myself. Here is my cozy little nook, trying to set the mood right. I got my goals and plans, and then I wrote these questions out to review as I'm going through each item to make sure I'm only keeping what I really am creatively inspired by, and I hope this will keep me on track. All right, we're just gonna watch some Gilmore Girls and start.
First things first, I completely emptied my armoire. I'll admit, this was not the most exciting part of the process, but it was a necessary step. Starting from scratch allowed me to look at the space with fresh new eyes and think about how to maximize its potential. When things get cluttered, it's really easy to lose track of what you have, and by pulling everything out, I was able to take a full inventory of all of my supplies, group similar items together, and reevaluate their purpose. Starting fresh creates the opportunity to thoughtfully curate what truly belongs, making the space more functional and enjoyable to use in the future. Before diving into the organization process, I gathered a few boxes to help sort my materials. I created different categories to try to stay organized as best as possible. We had a sell pile for items I'm considering turning into craft packs to share or sell, a pen pal pile for ephemera and supplies to include in my snail mail, a keep pile for items I plan to use, and a recycle box for anything broken or unusable. Sorting everything this way really helped me stay focused and intentional during the process. I started with organizing my scrapbook paper. I went through each sheet one by one, looking at both sides, and kept only the ones I absolutely loved. For the smaller papers, I repurposed some acetate sleeves I already had, which worked perfectly to store them in a way that makes everything easy to see. To keep the sleeves together, I added binder rings for a simple functional solution. And then for my larger paper scraps, I neatly bundled them with a binder clip. And just like that, all my papers are organized and ready to go. I love using bar coasters in my junk journaling, and over time, I've collected quite a few. While sorting through them, I realized I had several duplicates, and after convincing myself that I don't need 3 coasters from a bar in the UK I've never visited, I chose my favorites and organized them neatly in a pouch. Portable printers are such a fun addition to junk journaling, but I realized my chargers and replacement paper were scattered in a bunch of different spots. To make things more convenient, I gathered all the essentials and stored them together in one place, so now it's easy to grab when I'm ready to print. Oh, the cards and postcards I've collected over time. Sorting through them was a bit of a process, but I separated the ones I wanted to use for my own crafting from those I planned to send to my pen pals. Having everything mixed together made it harder to find what I needed for specific purposes, and this super simple change made a very big difference. Next, I did the same for the random ephemera I have. Since I'm not really into vintage or traditional junk journal styles, I ended up keeping just 5 items from the entire box. The rest will be repurposed for other uses, and simplifying this collection felt so refreshing to make more room for items that better match my style going forward. I have a bit of an obsession with envelopes and love using them in my journaling, so I decided they deserved their own dedicated box. Again, to stay organized, I separated the ones I want to use for my own crafting from those I'm reserving for pen pal snail mail.
All right, we only made a small dent, but it is a start. I'm really hungry, so I'm gonna walk down to the grocery store, get some fresh air and some food, and then come back and continue to reorganize. It is so nice outside today. We've got the goods, and I had to treat myself to a little dessert. I got this for later with some crackers. For now, I'm gonna eat some stir fry.
Dig deep. Okay. So now I'll find it.
Stickers are easily the biggest culprit for my disorganization. I started with my larger sticker sheets, organizing them in acetate sleeves just like I did with my scrapbook paper. Then came my sticker binder. It was packed with so many things, and I felt the need to start from scratch. As much as I enjoy stickers, I realized I can't possibly use them all, so I kept the ones I was immediately drawn to, and off the rest go to new homes where they'll be appreciated and not forgotten. I repurposed this photo album as a scraps organizer. It originally had some random papers and stickers tucked inside. I was able to consolidate the stickers into its dedicated binder, so this freed up the album, which I'm now using to organize smaller paper scraps and tags. I used to have rubber stamps scattered all over the place, but I decided to designate a single drawer for them. My rule now is that if it doesn't fit in the drawer, I have to let some go. Moving forward, I'll focus on curating individual ink pads and colors I truly love and selecting stamps thoughtfully. Another area I've gone overboard with is my wax seal supplies. I consolidated everything, including the tools and wax sticks. It was easy to pare down since I tend to use the same seals repeatedly, and got rid of the rest. Washi tapes are tricky for me to keep organized, and they're usually rolling around all over my workstation. They actually fit perfect in these small box organizers, which makes it so much easier to see what I have all at once. I wanted a dedicated box for the supplies I use most often to keep on my table at all times. When I have everything ready and accessible, I find I'm much more inclined to sit down and start crafting. I repurposed this toolbox, organizing all my essential junk journaling supplies, and for a little extra joy, I added magnets to string some of my favorite ribbon. Ribbon is the hardest for me to organize, but I found this simple hack on Pinterest that works perfectly. I cut out cardboard rectangles and wrapped the ribbon around them, securing the ends with a small pin. It's such a space-saving solution, and there's even room to add more as my collection grows. Now comes the fun part, putting everything back in and seeing how it all works together. It's so satisfying to arrange everything, play with the setup, and make sure it's functional and enjoyable to use. It is scientifically proven that simplicity and minimalism can improve well-being, decision-making, and creativity. When you free up physical space and mental resources, you can focus more on what truly matters. Fewer meaningful choices often result in greater satisfaction. During the process, I came across an idea called creative constraint. The creative constraint concept refers to the idea that limitations, whether in resources, time, materials, or even ideas, can actually foster greater creativity and innovation. When you're given specific boundaries or rules to work within, it can push you to think more resourcefully and outside the box to come up with original solutions. Constraints prevent overwhelming possibilities, making it easier to focus your efforts in a productive and creative direction.
We are getting so close. I still have quite a bit of stuff on the ground, but it feels so great, and looking at my closet now, it makes me want to create.
It's so old. I feel like the city is very alive.
I'm really happy with the results. I feel a greater sense of creative freedom and have organized a space that feels more authentic to me.
Good morning. It is a couple of days later, and before I posted this video, I really wanted to live with my newly organized craft armoire. I was able to achieve my goals of condensing and curating my materials so that I'm more creatively inspired to make art. This work week was really crazy and busy, but I was able to find time to still carve out for junk journaling, and I also wrote back a couple of my pen pals. And I really think it's a product of just having an organized space and knowing where everything is and not being overwhelmed by all the options I previously had. One of the best parts of my craft cleanse was uncovering a lot of sentimental junk I've been keeping for a reason, because all of it really means a lot to me. So after I give you a tour of my craft armoire, I am going to junk journal with all of the materials I was able to rediscover and relive the wonderful memories associated with those pieces. So let's get into it. And here she is. Over in this corner, I organized all of my bigger sticker sheets. And then the second one is a bunch of smaller scrapbooking paper. Down here, I have all of the bigger pieces of scrapbook paper. Really easy for me to just peruse and see what I have available. One of the problems I really needed to solve was where all of my current junk was organized before I was able to sit down and junk journal with it. So I have these two organizers that are labeled current with all of the current projects and current junk. So in this box right here, I have all of the materials for my holiday cards I need to sit down and write and send out before the holidays. And then this second box is all of the junk that I found while I was organizing. The idea in the future though is that all of my week's junk that I collect will go in here until I can junk journal with it. Between these two organizers, I have this one that I got from Van Joe, and it just stores all of my curated junk that doesn't fit in these boxes. For example, this gift bag is not going to fit in those boxes, and I don't want it to get ruined. So anything that I need to be standing upright or is too big for the boxes will go in this organizer. This box has all of my adhesives, tape, glue, tape runners, all of the sorts. They're all consolidated into one box because before they were just everywhere. This is my box of scraps, so any smaller pieces of paper and ribbon that I don't have much left, but I don't want to throw it out, I will consolidate in here, and is perfect to go through as I'm junk journaling if I need some space to fill. Over here, we just have a miscellaneous box. I have my watercolors in here, some materials from my Cricut, ink, things that I don't use very often, but I still wanted to keep to give myself the option to create with the materials. This is my ribbon box, and I'm probably most proud of this. Saves a lot of space, and I can see everything that I have very easily.
Down here are my rubber stamps. I don't use them very often, but I think it's because they were so hard to get to before, so I have them all consolidated in one space along with the ink pads as well. Up here, we just have 2 organizers for markers and for paintbrushes. Have my Cricut Joy that my best friend got me a couple of years ago, and I really want to get back into it and see what I can create with that. So that is a project for early next year. These organizers are my favorite. I got them from Home Goods, and they have been such a game changer with organizing these smaller bits that I journal with. So I was able to go through them and organize all of the materials, including labeling all of them and also grouping them in a way that makes sense. We have things like confetti, postage stamps, we have acrylic paint, a bunch of clips and pins. I have so many boxes with little letters, which I like to send to my pen pals. I like journaling with cards, so I have a box with cards. One of my favorite things that I did in here was organize my washi tapes. One of my biggest frustrations was finding where the tape starts, so they fit perfectly in here, and then they also stay in place because I started the tape and hung it over the edge so that it's really easy to find where it starts. And then I still have a bunch of boxes that are empty, and that's perfect because again, I wanted room for growth. On this side of the drawers, I was able to organize my sticker books and the flow paper books that I recently got and I've been obsessed with, and they fit perfectly in these organizers. On the left side of the doors, I used this cork board to organize all of the postage stamps that I'm currently using. In this drawer, I put a bunch of the materials that I use on a daily basis so that it is really easy to get to. In these acrylic organizers on the top, I have a bunch of different envelopes. This second one are a bunch of cards and postcards. And then this last one doesn't have very many things in it right now, but it is more so vintage ephemera. This bag, I just organized all of my holiday crafts in one area so that when I am doing my holiday cards or any sort of holiday crafting, I can just grab this out. And then when I'm done, I will just go ahead and reorganize them into the sections that they belong in. Next, I have these 2 organizers. This one has all of my paper scraps. This organizer gets the Most Improved award because she was busting at the seams before, but this is where I collect all of my smaller sticker sheets. In this box, we have all of my portable printers with replacement film as well as their chargers. This organizer back here stores a lot more sentimental junk that I've kept throughout the years. In this top crate, I have my materials for my wax seal stamps, so my wax seal gun, an electric warmer for the wax beads, and then my bigger wax seal sticks, all together and organized by color. The second crate has a lot of space for new things, but I also have my little paper cutters in there. I have these pouches with nothing in them so that I can store supplies when I'm traveling. I have all of my coloring books stored over here to the left. This tin just has a bunch of pens, highlighters, markers, all that sort of stuff. I actually still need to go through this, but that's a later project. This tin, we have a bunch of fabric swatches. And then I also have fabric patches that I like to give to my pen pals and also use in my junk journaling. Over here in this box, I have this pouch with a bunch of letters from my pen pals. And then I also have these for my pen pal snail mail, my acetate sleeves, as well as little bags and tissue paper to wrap things that I send. Last but not least, the bottom drawer. Over here on the left-hand side, I have all of my materials for collaging. So a big old box of already cut up magazines, and then magazines and books that I have collected over the years that I still wanted to keep for my collaging purposes. Packaging I keep for my pen paling. And then over here on the right-hand side are things that I still need to go through and organize. Some stuff from my childhood, and then postcards that I want to give to some of my pen pals. Completely empty box over here, and the idea is to organize all of the things that I set aside to either sell or to send to my pen pals
in this box so that is also all consolidated into one space. It is currently in my storage closet.
As we come to the end of this video, it only felt right to break in my new space by honoring some old junk. Every time I sit down to create, I feel a sense of peace and belonging that I can't find anywhere else. You don't need a big fancy craft room or an endless supply of materials. All you really need is to give yourself the opportunity to create a small space carved out just for you in this crazy, chaotic world. Building the patience to cultivate a creative practice that feels personal and true is such a beautiful thing. It's about finding that one thing that lights a fire within you, something dependable to turn to time and time again. I've evolved so much in my creative journey, and my only hope is to encourage you to connect with your own. Create a space that feels authentic to you, a space where you can fully express yourself. Don't feel like you need to replicate my space or anyone else's. Let your process be yours, but if you're unsure where to start small. Find a corner, a drawer, or a table, and let that be your space to create your own sense of belonging. You deserve it.